When you got your computer, Obama was still president.
They've been in business for 7 years, and they still don't know what they're doing. I guess a podcast seemed natural. Here's FounderQuest.
I've been holding out for the new MacBook Pros. So the M1 is pretty tempting, but I want whatever comes next. I want, the 16-inch new hotness that's apparently supposed to be launching in November. But I've been waiting for it so patiently for so long now.
We'll have like the M2.
Yeah, either that or M1X. People are kind of unsure. I don't know what the odds are.
They make an M1 if they can't make an M2. Why you just started, people. You can just have a normal naming scheme that just increments.
Well, we'll
M1.1.
That would be awesome.
Lord.
Yeah, I would.
M1A, Beachfront Avenue.
So last week we did an Ask Me Anything on indie hackers, and that was a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
And one of the most interesting questions on there was some guy was just like, "Are you rich?" I started thinking about it. It's I literally have no idea. It reminded me of when I used to live in New York briefly in the 90s, the early aughts. There was a Village Voice article in which they started out with somebody not making very much money, and they were like, "Hey, what is rich to you?" And then, that person described that. Then they went and found a person who had that level of income and stuff, and they asked them, and it just kept going up long past the point where where basically nobody ever was like, "Yeah, I'm rich."
Yeah. At the end, they're like, "Jeff Bezos, what is rich? What is rich to you?"
Yeah.
You have to own your own star system.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing pretty good for myself because, I went to fill up my car with gas the other day and I just didn't even look at the price. The other day I wanted to snack, so I just got a whole bag of cashews and I was just chowing down on those. I didn't need to save that. I could always get another bag of cashews. So
cashews are my arch nemesis, man. I can't pass up the cashews. As far as for the nut kingdom, man, they are my weakness.
I know. It's a subtle sweetness.
It's so good. The buttery goodness.
Yeah, the smoothness of the texture, the subtle sweetness, it's all there.
That and pistachios. I could die eating cashews and pistachios.
Yeah, I like pistachios.
Speaking of being rich, did you see Patrick McKenzie's tweet about noblesse oblige?
No, tell me.
Yeah, we'll have to link it up in the show notes. But basically the idea is when you reach a certain level of richness, I guess when you feel kind of rich, you should be super generous, right? You should. So noblesse oblige is the notion that nobility should act nobly, right? If you have been entrusted with this respect of the community, if you're a noble, then you ought to act a certain way. You ought to act like a noble, right? You should be, respectful and etc. So Patty was applying this to modern day, and he's like, well, we should bring this back. If you're a well-paid software developer living in, the United States of America, and you go and you purchase something, let's say a coffee that, has basically zero impact on your budget, right? You don't notice that $10 or whatever that you're spending. Then, just normalize spending, giving 100% tip, right? Because you will hardly feel it, but the person you're giving it to, that'll just make their day, right?
Yeah.
So doing things like that, it's that's
being generous.
Yeah, it's being generous. Yeah. So I like that idea.
That's cool.
So it's okay to be rich as long as you're not a rich asshole.
Exactly. It's a good way to bring it forward there, Starr.
Yeah.
There you go. I think there's some historical, I don't know, the phrase noblesse oblige kind of grates at me a little bit in a way that I can't quite articulate in this moment, but I'll think about that and I will get back with you.
Wait, are you saying you don't identify as part of the nobility?
No.
I mean, I think there's a lot of things from the Regency period that we should bring back, governesses, because who wants to send your child to school in the middle of COVID pandemic? So just bring the teacher home, right?
That's pretty sexist. Why does it have to be gendered?
Okay, it could be a governor, but you might get a little misunderstanding. All of a sudden, you got Jay Inslee showing up your doorstep. I heard you wanted me to come teach your kids.
I don't know. I'll just take an algorithm, in the home to teach my kids and just entrust them to it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of bringing things back, I told y'all, but I'll tell our podcast listeners. On Sunday, I'm driving to Tacoma to go to somebody's basement and look at a 100-year-old printing press to possibly transport to Seattle and put in my office for no good reason that I can think of. It just seems to be something that I'm doing.
None of us actually asked you what you were intending to do with it. I was like, yeah, just like, let me know when you need to move it. I'm there. Like, I just assumed you were going to like do something cool with it. But
I appreciate the support. I mean, make little zines or something.
Yeah. Like if I get a lifetime subscription to your zine, that would be payment. Yeah.
Done.
Cool.
Yeah. Sign me up too. I'll be there. Like, I mean, who could resist that invitation, right? Because if you get to help with moving that thing, you get to see it, you get to touch it and play with it, but you don't have to keep it. It's somebody else's problem when you're done with the day. So, like, sounds great to me.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I mean, if you read like the forums about these things, like this is like one of the smaller ones, so people are just like, oh, no big deal. No big deal. It's okay. I was happy to hear that there's no stairs involved. So.
That is the deal breaker. Yeah. If you ever get the friend, helping you to move their piano, right? You always ask, okay, how many flights of steps, right?
Oh, I just thought of something I could do with it. I could like make us all nice business cards.
Ooh.
Or to hand out to nobody.
Because we're not going anywhere.
I was just thinking like my last like 6 attempts at having business cards, like they're all still sitting in my closet.
I know,
like all 6 boxes
what? Really? A business card? What?
like all 6 generations.
I hand out like 1 or 2 per year.
Mm.
Yeah, just random people who are like, hey, here's my phone number. Like, it's an easy way to give.
Just people on the street.
Exactly. You look like a decent fellow. Here you go. Why? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I've got 1,000 of these that kind of justify the cost somehow.
We got to move these.
We could start invoicing our customers, by snail mail. I could print out really nice letterhead.
I think we have a few customers who would be delighted to receive a paper invoice from us, because then they would have an excuse to not pay us for 90 days.
Yeah.
Isn't like owning a printing press like owning a truck though? Once people know you have it, everyone wants to borrow it. Hang out in your basement and do their printing, this is the Pacific Northwest.
Like their manifestos.
Yeah, like they got to print their manifestos. List of demands.
Establishment at Kinko's to be able to see.
Right.
I don't know. It's got to put you on a special kind of watch list, though, if you have a printing press in your home. Right? Like all of a sudden, some people are really interested in what you're up to.
It's like a legacy watch list. Like
so.
I'm just flashing back to again the 1800s, when cities, towns would get all.
Go. Well, yeah, because
the mob would come out and burn down a printing press building and stuff.
If you wanted to be a propagandist back then, like you had to buy a printing press and then you get put on a watch list, and that just never went away. Like they're still looking for those people. They just don't find as many of them.
It's not so inefficient. It's not like a super efficient way of getting the word out, though.
Yeah,
I hear. Unless you want to be one of those like people handing out leaflets on the on the side of the road.
You could put them on. You could do like paper windshields in parking lots.
There you go. Yeah,
that's how they used to do it.
Yeah, look at my beautifully handcrafted leaflet that you're gonna throw in the gutter.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've just settled on what your next adventure is going to be after Honeybadger. When you're ready to put this business aside and focus on printing up flyers for your local missing cat.
There you go. Band flyers. That's big business.
Well, you could get into like fancy paper. That's a whole thing up here, and it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, I don't know. Really, it's like, oh, it'd be cool to have a big thing to tinker with. Like I'm learning about myself that like I like having just like a big physical project going on, and I'm pretty like I built this backyard office, and that took up like 2 years of my time. And, ever since then, like I don't have a big physical thing to work on. So I'm thinking this might fill that niche. Sorry. I read a thing that's like, don't say niche, Americans. Niche.
I don't know, Starr. Maybe you should think of the children. I mean, think about 50 years from now when you're dead and Ida's cleaning out the house and she's all like, why is there this printing press?
Oh, there you go.
You'll have to move it.
They'll just sell it with the house.
There you go.
The funny thing is that it is wider than the doorway. So,
But of course it is.
I would either have to disassemble it partially or take out the door. And I put the door in, so I know how to take it out. So there's a good chance the door's coming out. I have less chance of like messing something up if I do that one. But we'll see.
Good luck with that.
Should have put one of those roll-up doors in there. You know, like the garage.
I should have, yeah.
Those are cool.
What was I thinking?
You really did not plan ahead for this.
Yeah. I mean, walls are really only like a couple of thin pieces of like, plywood, and
Yeah.
you can just like saw through it.
It's a small refactor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you all see that like someone listened to like every episode of this podcast? Like
I know.
in a row?
I feel so bad. I feel so bad for them.
Speaking of,
We're sorry.
I was feeling admiration. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. Like,
I just think we would have made different decisions.
maybe it's pretty good. I haven't gone back and gone through it all.
well,
Never
I mean,
will, but
not only did they say they listened to every episode, but then they were eager for more. They're like, when are you getting done with your break? So I guess
There you go.
yeah, we must not be too repetitive.
Must not be.
Stockholm syndrome.
We're sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I don't have any I don't have anything informative to add, so I'm just going to be shit posting this whole episode.
Well, I've had an amazing week since we last chatted. I kept reflecting on how I couldn't remember anything that I did over the past whatever months. Well, this past week, I can remember a whole bunch of things that I did. I've been like crazy busy and getting just a bunch of little things knocked out. But today was the capstone of the week because I rolled over our main Redis cluster that we use for all of our jobs, all the incoming notices and whatever. And rolled over to a new Redis cluster with like zero downtime, no drop data. Nobody even noticed. It was just smooth as silk.
Oh my God.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's feeling pretty good.
Just like butter.
Just like butter.
They slid right out of that old Redis instance and just into this new, is it like AWS managed type thing?
Yeah. Both of them were the old one and the new one, but yeah.
Elasticache.
Yep. Smooth like a new jar of Skippy.
I saw that you like put that in our ops channel or something.
Yeah. That's the
That's
topic
like
in our ops
the
channel.
subject or the topic. Yeah. We're making ops run like like a jar of Skippy.
Why isn't that our tagline for our whole business?
I mean, we can change it.
I don't know why that's making me crack up so much.
Skippy's good stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Although we usually go for like the Costco natural brand these days.
Well, we go for the Trader Joe's all natural brand that you have to actually mix every time you use it, And I prefer crunchy over creamy. So actually my peanut butter is not that smooth, but
Yeah.
But yeah, I love our natural peanut butter, except for the whole churning thing, but you can live with that.
We're more of a Nutella family.
Ooh, I do love
Nutella.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff.
We had made pancakes the other day and I was putting in Nutella on pancakes. And I did this thing, like I made this, like, we have like this, one of those griddles, like an electric griddle. And so I made like this super like long, like rectangular pancake. And then I spread Nutella on the entire thing. And then I rolled it. Yeah. So that you have like this.
Called, Josh.
What is it called?
That's called a crepe.
So it's a crepe, but it's like made out of a pancake. A Texas.
Yes.
Is it really a Texas crepe? Because that's. Yeah.
No.
It is now.
Yeah, it is now.
It is now, and I highly recommend it. It's pretty amazing.
Throw some Skippy on there, and man, now it's a
peanut butter is also good on pancakes.
That's why people listen to us for our insights about business.
Yeah, there's this one time speaking of pancakes and peanut butter.
It's like, how did we get on pancakes? Like, oh yeah, ops.
So this one time I went over to dinner at some person's house, and I didn't know what dinner was going to be, but we got there and breakfast for dinner, which I personally love. Like that's one of my favorites.
I knew that about you.
And so they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Hope you don't think it's weird, but we're having breakfast or dinner." I'm like, no, I love it. And so, eggs and bacon and waffles. And so I'm getting my waffle and I'm like, "Do you have some peanut butter?" And they're like, "Oh my goodness, we thought you would think that was way too weird." And so we didn't have the peanut butter. And they like whipped it out from behind in the counter, Like, "Oh, shoot, now we can have our peanut butter too." I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Everyone had like their hidden peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's how you level up a friendship.
There you go. So yeah, the week was good. The week was good. Things just bugs got fixed, and things got deployed, and yeah.
Yeah, you had a bunch of PRs and stuff for little things too, which
and got some practice with the whole delegating thing. Got Shalva doing some stuff too. So yeah,
nice.
All around super productive week.
I got Java to run in a Docker container, so my week's going pretty good.
And that took you all week.
What do those words mean? I don't. Was your audio cutting out? I don't know. I just heard a bunch of things I don't understand.
Well, for your own sake, you don't ask me to explain it.
Yeah, it's like better not like that.
Yeah.
Why would you subject yourself to that sort of torture, Josh?
Oh, well, because running Java on like an M1 Mac is even worse. Well, actually running it, period. But yeah, like just our Java package. I mean, I've like spent half this podcast ranting about like our packaging, so I don't need to get too deep into it. But like every time I release this thing, it's like it just doesn't work because I've forgotten I've like changed my system, and Java and Maven package repository are just like that. So I figure if I can make some sort of reproducible development environment using Docker, then in 2 years, everything will just be smooth as a jar of Skippy.
Yeah.
I had a chance to dig into some numbers, which is one of my favorite things to do. And so I don't know. There was this question that was just bothering me, which was, well, let me just back up. So we've had some success, as you guys know, in the past year. We've like almost doubled our rate of new user signups. Like not new user signups, like conversion to paid users. We've doubled our paid user conversion numbers, rate, whatever you call it. And so revenue from users has gone up as well. But since, we are our plans are basically sort of broken down by error rates, right? And so what happens when people upgrade is like they get too many errors for their plan. It says, hey, you should upgrade to keep, if you want to keep sending us errors. And they do. And so so we had this weird sort of situation where it's like, I wasn't sure, like in our system, like revenue from new users was coming just from their whatever plan they picked when they signed up. And so I was wondering, well, like what if they sign up and then a week later they upgrade? That's going to be counted under upgrade revenue instead of new user revenue, which it really kind of should be. And so I got to dig in and I found that, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. People generally don't, like some people do upgrade pretty quickly after converting, but they don't, it's not really enough to really change things. Offhand, I took a little sneak peek. I've been running this experiment to see if lowering our error quota for our basic, our free plan, it would increase conversions. And so I took a little sneak peek at the data. It's like too soon to know for sure. But so far, the conversion rate, I think it's going to end up being higher, which is what I would expect. And so that's good. And
nice.
Yeah. And when we're done, I'm going to look at signups just to make sure that they are still sort of in line.
Yeah. Anecdotally, I've seen a smaller window from trial to paid conversion. Well, not trial, but freemium to paid conversion. Like I've seen people who are signing up, getting on the basic plan, and then within some short time period, they're actually going to a team plan. And that's happening more often than it was. So yeah. So that's, cool. I'm just saying the same thing Starr said, but without real data.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like the numbers are, like we need a little bit more time to sort of see how things pan out too, because it's like one thing I figured out that I will share with our readers. I'm used to doing the blog posts. I'll share with our listeners that I figured out that you really have to kind of pay attention to on free plans, especially is comparing conversion rates between time periods. So if you make a change and then like you wait for a month of data to come in and You're like, okay, let's look at the conversion rate for the past month after the change with the conversion rate for the time period before the change. That is really an apples to oranges comparison, because on the one hand, you've had people who have maybe had a year to upgrade versus people who've had like a month to upgrade. And so you have to be really kind of careful to make it apples to apples, right? Where you only compare, if you have a month worth of users on one side, you compare it to a month worth of users on the other side, and you only count the conversions that happened in that time period. Yeah. So anyway, that's just my little freebie like data analysis thing for our listeners.
We should have like Starr's like weekly data science tip.
Starr's Data Corner.
Yeah.
Love it.
Like, yeah, we could move the podcast to segments. Like we've never done segments. Like we could introduce segments if we need to spice things up on FounderQuest.
Yeah. Totally. Well, speaking of the spicing things up, I had a brilliant idea this morning. Yeah. So, one of the things that I keep an eye on is how much we spend like on hosting, because that's a good chunk of our expenses. We always want to make more money. And one way to make more money is to have fewer expenses. And so I had this brilliant idea on how to cut expenses. We can chop our AWS bill in half by just not running everything redundant.
There you go. Which
brilliant.
The AWS is like the sixth Honeybadger employee.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the early days, before we were paying ourselves a full salary, I remember we budgeted like 25% for Starr, 25% for Ben, 25% for Josh, and 25% for hosting.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever exceeded the 25%, which is good. That would be a bit high. But, So yeah, AWS is like our sixth employee.
Yeah, it's funny because did we even have other expenses?
No. I mean, salaries is definitely the biggest one, but our health insurance is not cheap either.
Yeah.
But advertising,
marketing, advertising.
Yeah. Advertising and marketing. That's the next one.
Can we make AWS our seventh and eighth employee too?
Eventually we may. So I told you my great success that I had this morning. Well, your comment just now about AWS made me think about the one failure, just amazingly huge failure that I had also this week. Migrating a bunch of data from Redis to DynamoDB. We have this situation where it's one of those seemed like a good idea at the time kind of thing, where we're doing a bunch of counting of people and individuals that hit errors. And we're counting that in Redis. I'm like, okay, great. Because Redis has this increment by and it's easy and it's atomic and boom, you're done. And I just never really paid much attention to it until a few weeks ago. And it's like, you know what? That's actually a lot of data in there. And we're keeping that forever. And so it's probably better to put it someplace that's not Redis. So I'm like, I know. I'll do DynamoDB because it has an increment thing. And yeah. So I put a table together and I wrote a migration script and I migrated a bunch of data. It took 2 days and it's great. Everything is beautiful. Had buckets of data inside DynamoDB. And then I went to go query it and I'm like, oh, I can't query it that way because I don't have the right index. Well, that sucks. All right. So you can't create a local index on DynamoDB without recreating the table. I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. I just lost 2 days worth of data migration, but oh well. So dumped the table, recreated it with the index and started redoing the data migration. And I'm like, it might take 2 days, no problem. So I check on it every half day or so. And it's not going to be getting done after 2 days. 3 days go by and I'm like, checking the work backlog. And it's like, it's just flat. Turns out because of that local index, now Dynamo can't really write fast enough because the way they do the partition throttling and stuff. Because we have, of course, some customers who have huge chunks of data. And so their partitions are too big for Dynamo to write very quickly. Hot partition keys is the problem. So I just gave up. I'm like, all right, fine. Drop the table again, recreated it, and now we're just double writing so that eventually, given 6 months from now or so, it'll be there and I can replace that thing in Redis.
Nice.
So this is my life. the ups and the downs.
And
So, yeah.
just waiting like 6 months.
And just waiting 6 months.
Yeah. It's funny. That is kind of a pattern in the business. Like in some cases, we need to just wait for the data to populate itself. And we just have to basically like wait our retention period because data turns to like turnover and then, they can drop the old database or whatever.
Yep. So, but luckily nobody noticed my big fail. So it's all good. It didn't impact
I didn't
any
notice.
customers. So yeah,
I noticed, but I didn't say anything because I wanted to be nice.
Thank you, Starr. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely.
Starr was over there just like quietly shaking her head.
Just judging.
No, sorry.
Josh, I'm going to get back to this Java thing because I'm curious. Like, I remember, I don't know, a year ago or something, we're kind of like, maybe we should just not when it comes to Java anymore. So I'm curious what prompted this renewed activity to do a new release.
Oh, I don't know. I figured, I don't know. Did we say we were just not going to do any releases? Like,
No, I didn't.
Like, it's not high on my list of like development. Like, we're not like spending a bunch like adding stuff to it, but like there are like dependency updates that have been getting merged in. Like I merged the Dependabot PRs and stuff. There's like something else. There might be like some small PR or something that someone submitted that was sitting there unreleased. And I just can't handle just unreleased code sitting on main.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things that's been like sitting on my backlog, like halfway down the list, just like, gnawing at me every week. So I figured I'd dive in and try to get it like at least like get some sort of relatively quick release process down so we can just, continue to release dependency updates and stuff. Security, like if there's a security update or something. So,
yeah.
And some people still do use it. So want to make sure they're secure.
Make sure they're happy. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. Like we are not treating all platforms as equal because we just don't have the resource. So we need to focus on the stuff that actually is making us money.
Yeah, it's tough when very few of our customers are actually using that, for it to get a whole lot of priority.
But that said, we have already put a lot into it. So it's, as far as I know, it works well for the people that have used it.
So are y'all encouraging our customers to do more Java?
Yeah, switch to Java and then switch to Sentry or something.
So I've been contemplating this new laptop showing up, right? Whenever Apple finally releases it and I get to get my hot little hands on it. And I've been thinking, well, the one big downside to getting a new laptop is getting back to a place where you can actually work again, right? Getting all your things set up. And some people are smart, like Josh, that have like this .files repo on GitHub and they can just clone that and they're off to the races. I'm not that smart. I always have to handcraft my config every time I get a new machine. But I'm thinking, so yes, I'm not looking forward to that part, but GitHub has released code spaces. And so now I'm thinking, I wonder if like I could get all of our repos updated so that I could just work totally in the cloud and just not even have a development kind of set up on my machine. Yeah, probably not, but it's a fun little fantasy.
Well, then you could have you could work on your iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even need a laptop. I could save the company money. It's brilliant, Josh.
Yeah. You could work at the library.
Yeah, it's like, so your main ops guy, I see he's primarily working from a 5-year-old iPad.
In a library.
In a library.
An iMac.
When he gets paged, he has to run to the nearest Starbucks and get that Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I gotta say having your .files all ready to go and all that is pretty good. Also, like I've got my brew file too. So, all my homebrew stuff is automated in that.
Well, that's clever. I didn't even thought of that.
So it does make it very quick to bootstrap a new machine.
Yeah, maybe I should take this as a initiative to actually put my stuff into .files repo and get to that point.
Careful though, because you might. I mean, like I've had like 4 computers between like your current one and now. So you might end up like switching more often because it's easier to do it.
Appreciate that warning. It's good.
Yeah. Speaking of the M1s, I love the M1 MacBook Air that I have, but the battery has been like, I don't know what happened, but the battery was like fantastic. Like the first few months. And ever since then, it's been kind of like, it hasn't been lasting. Like I've been surprised at how fast it's draining. And I go and look at like the battery health stuff, and it says that health is down to 86%, and the condition says it's fair, which does not make me feel warm and fuzzy.
No, totally not.
And it's only got 50. It has 50 cycles, so I think that it might be defective, and that sucks because otherwise this machine is maybe one of the best Macs I've had. There have been a few like compatibility issues with the architecture, but it's not too bad. I mean, I'm not a Java developer, at least. So,
yeah, I think you need to take that in for a service because that is way soon for that kind of degradation.
I might need to do something.
And that's a bummer.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have to ship it in because I think our local Portland Apple store is like shuttered currently.
All those protests.
Yeah. It's got like gates, like fences around it and stuff. Yeah, downtown Portland's a little rough these days.
Well, I mean, you can always take the trip up to Seattle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or there's other, I forget, like there's an Apple store that's not too far outside of Portland. It's where I bought this, so I could take it down there.
Yeah, I'm sad now because like I bought my second MacBook from that store in Portland.
Yeah, it's a good store.
Speaking of you coming to Seattle, I was thinking the other day that maybe we should do a company-wide get-together sometime soon. Be fun to see everybody again in person.
It would be. Now that we're all vaxxed, we're all super vaxxed. I don't know that Starr's even down for that though. So I'm just looking at Starr. You don't look like you're too stoked on that idea.
I don't know. I'm just
with Delta.
The problem is, Josh, is that you have not been reading. You have not been reading like nursing. So I don't know. Like, yeah, it's doable. The currently, like, I think the CDC just released a thing that said vaccine efficiency at preventing COVID infections. First, like, it's very good still at preventing like bad, like, I don't know, disease, health problems, whatever. Keeping people out of the hospital, it's very good at that. It's with Delta, it's about 65% effective at preventing infections. And so if you get infected, you can like transmit it to other people. So it's just like, so it's not impossible. It's just like, we're just back to this freaking like calculus where like every possible social interaction, you just have to like run it through your spreadsheet and your risk analysis and,
yeah.
It's like, are you worthy of the hassle? No. Sorry, can't make it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so like, what's the probability that like meeting with you is going to send my child to the hospital? Okay, that's low enough. Sure.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird world.
Wouldn't it be funny, like if your car, like when you get into your car in the morning, like it like reads out the probability of you like dying in a car accident?
Oh yeah. Do you know about millimorts?
No.
Oh, you should go Google millimorts. Millimort is a 1 in a million chance that you will die. And so there's tables and stuff that you can find online that have different activities and like what the number of millimorts is about them. And so you can compare and you can be like, okay, so going skydiving has as many millimorts as like driving so many miles in a motorcycle.
That's awesome. Okay, we have to link this in the show notes because I want to remember to like look this up.
Totally.
Okay, I'll go so
that I can depress people.
I think there was a New York Times article too.
Yeah, I totally have to see this because I just signed up for a motorcycle training course and I'm gonna get my endorsement. So now I need to know exactly what kind of risks. Though that's probably part of the course where they try to scare you out of actually getting your endorsement. You know, they probably.
By the way, I'm really glad my like morbid humor or like my morbid joke landed because for a minute there micromort. Okay.
I was like, is
mini more like
1,000? Milli is 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. That graded at me. I know my old chemistry teachers are just like giving me an F right now.
Yeah. I gotta say that.
I'm I'm sure you'll be all right, Ben. I mean, the risk of a motorcycle is much higher than a car, but I mean, you just can't think about that all the time because, you know, the fun, I'm sure the fun is much there. It's worth it.
It's worth every hazard. Yeah.
Yeah. The risk is worth the reward.
Yesterday, I just hit 250 miles on the odometer on my scooter. So loving that. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. A lot of miles for a scooter.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you just love to scoot.
I'd love to scoot. Well, there you go, Starr. There's our happy ending after that slight dip there.
I like the dark humor. I don't know, like, you know, it's always a gamble though. Like with depending on Starr, you're always down to get dark.
Oh yeah, I'm down with the darkness. All right. Well, should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it.
Okay. This has been a very witchy episode of FounderQuest. So if you liked it, go give us a review. And yeah, if not, just keep listening to us. You know, make it a hate listen. You got to have a couple of those in your lineup.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honeybadger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to FounderQuestPodcast.com. That's one word, where you can access our huge back catalog of episodes. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.